If you win, you manifested it. Fantastic. If you lose, you would have spent so much time imagining it that you're really going to want it. And because you're really going to want it in your mind, you're going to be more motivated to work hard than ever before. Most of you do not use your mind for what it's for. You've forgotten how to imagine things. But you cannot close your eyes and vividly imagine. You can't give yourself goosebumps. You can't evoke an emotion in yourself anymore. This is an age-old skill that humans had very recently up till social media. You should be able to close your mind and imagine the life you want to live so viscerally, so to the point where you can taste it, so that this reality, the one outside of your mind, feels like nothing but a prelude, a ramp, which allows you to get where you want to go. The mind is that powerful. If you ask any champion of anything, they always envision themselves as champion all of the time. And the reason they do that is, one, so they feel confident, but two, so that if they don't become champion, they're more angry and more motivated for the next attempt to ensure that they do become champion. So that's the mentality and the mindset you have to have. Your mind is your number one ally in all things. A lot of you have been sabotaged internally by your own mind. Your own psyche is working against you. When you have negative thoughts that prevent you from being the best version of yourself, you should understand that your mind is attempting to betray you, and you should feel disgust because you have enough enemies. There are enough people in that opposing trench trying to destroy you. If you're watching this and listening to this right now, I promise you, if I were to give a button to most humans on this planet, if I were to go up to an average man, 25-year-old man of average income anywhere in the world, and say, if you press this button, this guy's going to die. And I'll show a picture of you holding your dog, cuddling, being a nice little boy, whatever you're doing. I'll make you look sweet and innocent. I'll say, if you press this button, this guy dies, but you get $100 million. You do understand that 99.9% of people will press that button, right? And they'll take that 100 million without remorse. They won't really think about you very much. And if they do, they'll distract themselves with a Lamborghini and with bitches. That's it. They won't care about you. There's enough people in the opposing trench who are prepared to destroy you for self-interest that the idea of you not having every single part of you on your own side is truthfully sad. You need to be in a better position than that. You cannot allow your own mind to betray you ever. It has to be 100% on side all of the time. Once your mind is on side, once every part of your psyche is on your team, that's when you can go and look for other teammates. You can expand your network of other people whose psyche is all 100% on their side, and you have a unified outlook on the world. Then you can go and get things done. But the idea of self-betrayal is something most of you are struggling with and you didn't even realize. So as a thought experiment, we're going to sit here and I want you to actually think about it. How many times have you doubted yourself? How many times have you didn't feel like doing something you knew you were supposed to do? How many times has your mind tricked you into procrastination or being lazy? How many times has your mind convinced you that it was okay to fail and lose even though you didn't try your best? How many times have you sought comfort in excuses? How many times have you betrayed yourself? Don't worry about your enemies attempting to crush you. That's another conversation. If you actually analyze most of your failures, you're going to see the majority of them come from self-sabotage. And once you're in a position like me where you never betray yourself, where your mind never lets you down, ever, my mind knew exactly what I had to do. I did not miss a single day's training. I did not lose my mind. I did not go mental. I did not have a breakdown. I acted exactly as I was supposed to act. I was fully professional in all things. I got as much work done as I could possibly do. I was extremely productive. I used the experience for what it was. My mind never betrayed me. If you listen and look back on most of your failures, you're going to see that it was your own mind that betrayed you. It wasn't your enemies that tricked you. It wasn't your enemies that outmaneuvered you or outsmarted you. Most of you are not yet at a high enough echelon to even have enemies of caliber. You were simply self-betraying. And until you identify that pattern and get yourself in the habit of ensuring that is impossible, then you're always going to lose against people who fully believe in themselves. You know, one of the things that stupid people have that makes stupid people quite successful sometimes is irrational self-belief. And the smarter you are, sometimes the harder it is to irrationally believe in yourself. But if you're dumb enough, you can be arrogant enough to have this irrational self-belief, and you will see some people be very successful, and you say, how is this idiot successful? Because they're so stupid that they don't consider the idea of failure. Their mind isn't advanced enough. They are not cognitive enough to consider betraying their own being. They only see outside. They don't self-reflect. If you're intelligent enough to self-reflect, you need to do it so that you can come up with feedback so that you can constantly improve, but be very aware of the trouble that can come from a mind that's not 100% on your side. My mind is 100% on my side in all ways. If I have to do something difficult, even if my body can't do it, my mind believes I can do it all the time. And you'd be amazed how much of life, even in the physical realm, is mental. If you believe you can run a marathon, you can run a marathon. If you don't believe you can run a marathon, you can't run a marathon, because a marathon is hard. And by believing in it, by truly believing you can do it, then you will your body to a different level than if you don't believe you can do it. It's the same with absolutely all things, including making money, including the gym, including dealing with mental struggle. Anxiety is self-betrayal. Panic is self-betrayal. Procrastination is self-betrayal. Laziness is self-betrayal. Lacking motivation is self-betrayal. All of these things are self-betrayal. Most of you, your largest enemy on the planet today is yourself. You are the one who is destroying your own prospects because you don't have your own mind under control. And one of the things that's crazy about the world is your mind is one of the few things you can control. You can't control very much else. You can only control your mind. It's the only thing you have control over. So if you don't control it absolutely, you're going through life with no control over anything. You don't control your own mind, which means by extension, you do not control your life. You do not control your woman. You do not control the weather. You don't control nothing. You're just an empty vessel going through life with zero control over anything. You can control, once your mind's in check, your reaction and attitude to things. When you're in the trenches, there's people who give up. There's people who quit. There's people who sow FUD. There's people who feel sorry for themselves. There's people who want an easy way out. And there's other people who say, listen, this is a test. And the only way we're going to get this done is to be irrationally positive all of the time. He's like, well, what can I do about the price of Bitcoin? Perhaps nothing. But the universe may reward you karmically if you at least try to do something positive. Go for a walk, go for a run, burn some calories. Why don't you go down to the nearest grocery store and buy the old lady's groceries? How about that? You're unhappy that Bitcoin's gone down. Fine. What I recommend you do, although you may not understand this because you don't see them as linked, but karmically, all things are linked inside of this universe. Go down to the local grocery store and buy some groceries for an old lady. That's what you should do to fix the Bitcoin price. Now, will that genuinely affect the Bitcoin price? I don't know. It's amazing how this world works. Perhaps in some strange version of events, that slight delay in her thanking you and her getting in the car ends up leading to an increase in the Bitcoin price. But even if it doesn't, perhaps you'll learn something about not being so attached to money. Perhaps you'll feel grateful and understand you have a lot more spare money than you thought in the first place. Perhaps your attitude to the world will change, which will allow you to be more open-minded so that you can approach opportunities in a different way so that you make more money later on. Karmically, it's impossible for us to tangibly link how that positive action will lead into something else positive in your life later on. We just have to have faith that it will, because it will. So when I said this to this guy, he's like, LOL. That's his reply. He replied LOL when I said he should go buy groceries for somebody. And he doesn't understand the world. And I thought, well, why don't I go speak to thousands of people and talk positive then? Not to save him, but just to put my money where my mouth is, just to prove that you can just do something good. And if you just do something good, it is better than doing nothing. Rain dances work. If you need it to rain, you shouldn't sit and pray. You shouldn't sit and hope. You shouldn't sit and complain that it's not raining. You shouldn't sit and wait. You should rain dance. Does a rain dance make clouds appear? No, but you should take action. Perhaps your rain dance, although will not make clouds appear, will be viewed by a tribe high on the mountain far away, and they'll look down seeing you rain dance and realize that you need water. And then maybe Providence and luck will have this tribesman appear with big barrels of water saying, we think you might need water and we have some spare. If you didn't rain dance, they wouldn't know. They just see you sitting around being a mopey dipshit, crying his eyes out. That's why it's so important to take action in all things. Action solves all. Raw action is the answer. Raw action solves all. It is a mindset. So this dipshit complaining about this crypto price, he's not prepared to rain dance. He's not prepared to help a granny with her groceries. He's not prepared to do anything. God does not reward men that way. God rewards men who attack the world. You have to go and get things. You have to show that you deserve them. Even in mating, men go get the woman. Men go get money. Men go take land. Men go. We go and happen to the world. The world doesn't happen to us. What did we say earlier about if you try your absolute best, you can always find the W even in the L? I tried my absolute best. So I win. Raw action solves all. If you had that kind of attitude, you wouldn't be looking at a crypto price and sitting there praying and hoping like a dork. You'd be doing something about it. Oh, I need your help. Do you? I don't even see you trying. And that's how God views things. That's how, in fact, most wealthy people view things. I haven't seen you do anything that warrants me giving you a second of my help. People feel like rich people are horrible because we don't help the normies. Even if you try and help normies, most of them are beyond help because they are self-sabotaging and lazy. You have to at least show to the people who are important in the world that you're not those things in the beginning if you ever want to be taken seriously, at least. That's one of the first things you can do. But I want to see that you give a shit. I only want to give money to people who know how to rain dance. I only want to give money to people who sit and believe that the rain dance is the answer. I like rain dancers. I like people who sit and say, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to do something. I don't know what to do, so I'm going to just do something positive. I don't know how to make Bitcoin go up. I'm going to buy an old lady groceries. I don't know what to do, but inaction in and of itself is an action. And men of honor do not allow the universe to decide for them. They decide their fate. And you decide your fate with hard work and vigor in all things. In fact, I would argue that a lot of you probably heard about Bitcoin in 2007 or 2009 or 2011, whenever. But you were so uninterested in doing your due diligence, so uninterested in being proactive that you just ignored it. You probably don't even remember being told about it because you didn't give a shit. Yeah. And then you have the gall and audacity to sit here and say, if someone told me about Bitcoin back then, I'd be rich. No, you wouldn't. If you're the kind of person who would have got rich from Bitcoin back then, you're the kind of person who can get rich right now by taking action, by paying attention. If you're refusing to do the right things now, you would have never done the right things. And retrospectively identifying your failures and identifying how many right things you've missed out on is actually a form of hard cope. Oh no, I just don't have the chances. You've had chances and wasted them. And you have another chance right now to do your rain dance. You have a chance. You're sitting here right now during a chance. You have a chance from God because you're breathing. You have a chance right now to get things done. Now, you can retrospectively look back on this period of time and go, oh, yeah, I was young and energetic, but I wasted it. But if someone had just told me to try hard at this, I would have been. I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you about Bitcoin in 2009, but you're not going to do anything. It's almost impressive how difficult it is to make the average person move. The average person is a statue getting shit on by the pigeons, and they'd rather just sit there covered in shit than move. It's very hard to inspire people to take initiative to save themselves. It's incredible. Why? when they know that it's going to work. Some people are just born to lose. These are people who are betrayed by their own mind and can't be influenced even from the external because their own mind betrays them. There's a devil on their shoulder constantly holding them back. When you watch old kung fu movies and you see a master and he has chi, I totally understand the danger of a man with endless chi, endless internal power that he can convert into anything he wants it to be, whether it be mental fortitude at the time, physical fortitude, whether he can exert it as an attack. Chi is a super real thing, and it's self-generated. It is a decision. I want you to understand how my mind works. My core principle is endless work, endless attack. That is how you win in the end. You never give up and you endlessly persevere. It's hard to destroy the man who endlessly perseveres. Perseverance is the key. It is very easy to accept an L when you've tried your best. It's easy. The reason I don't like that saying, well, as long as you tried your best, is because most people don't try their best. If you do try your best, it's very rare you fail. In fact, it's nearly impossible. People say it's okay to lose if you tried your best. The secret to the universe is if you try your best, you hardly ever lose. It takes some freak accident or the will of God to ensure that you don't pull it off if you actually try your best. And on the few scenarios that's happened in my life, I'm happy to take the L because I can say I couldn't have tried any harder. I done my absolute best. I know I did my best. I can't try any harder. God knows more than me, and he decided that things have to be slightly different right now. That's fine. It's easy to take the L if you try your best. So if you try your best, you never feel the bitter sting of regret. You never feel the dark rankness. You never taste failure. It's never in your mouth. It's never lucid. It's never tangible because you approached the scenario with absolute vigor. And truthfully, effort is a muscle like everything else. The more you exercise it, the better it becomes. So even if you try for 100% for something and fail, you've exercised your effort muscle, which means you haven't failed because you've learned something and become better at giving effort to things. You've become better at being concentrated on a task. So it's nearly impossible to fail in these scenarios. A lot of sayings are overused, never a failure, always a lesson. And that's what's annoying about it, because it's true, but it's rarely applicable. You guys will say it's never a failure, it's always a lesson when you didn't even try. That's wrong. That's a failure. But if you absolutely try your best, then it is a lesson, and there are benefits, right? It's like going for a PB in the gym. You may not get the PB, but your muscles get stronger because you tried so hard. That's how every single task should be approached. I'm trying to lift as much as possible. Perhaps I failed, but because I tried so hard and I strained so hard, my muscles ache and I got stronger anyway. Meaning I did not fail at the task of becoming stronger. There were tangible benefits to my effort in and of itself. Making things happen is the masculine essence to how you should approach the world. Work harder than ever before to be monumentally rewarded more than ever before. It's also about pleasing the universe and showing that you are prepared to put your concentrated calories, the calories you consume, you're prepared to put them into something. You're only going to be rewarded if you differentiate yourself from the crowd via effort. A lot of people don't know how to try anymore, but we are not like that. We know better. We know how to try. That's why we always endlessly win. You should feel genuinely worried about wasting a single second because you can't let the winners keep dunking on you. I've spoken at length about how the world is getting harder and harder. This is true. This is easy to observe. Everybody knows it. There are people out there in the world who are going to try hard to change that dynamic because they don't believe they can ever be rich. There are people who are going to sit and say, I don't want the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer because I'm poor. And there's other people who sit and say, I like it this way. I like this challenge. I like that the game is rigged because now if I get rich, I get richer. That's how rich people think. Winners think, I have no problem with the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer because I'm going to be one of the rich ones. Losers think, no, we need to spread it all out. If you accept the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer, then you need to be prepared to do whatever it takes to win the game. Just like a video game. The harder the level, the greater the difficulty, the larger the high score at the end. I mean, you should try every day anyway. But let's assume you're the kind of person who can't try every day because you don't have that grit and consistency. If you're not going to pull your finger out now and finally try in these few days, when are you going to try? When are better chances going to come? Because they're actually right in front of you. This is a huge, important period in your life when it comes to your success and your finances. If you're not going to try now, when are you going to try?
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
If that's what you believe, Piers.
It's what I believe.
I don't believe in things that take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers
who would agree with you.
Piers,
Do you think you know more than doctors?
I can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it.
Maybe when you want to explore all the levels on the map of life, you don't just want all the levels at the top. See, this is the mistake most people make. They sit there in a normal life and they dream of being rich and going on nice vacations and dreaming of all the nice things. They don't dream of all the bad things. They think they can have all the light with none of the dark. That's not how it works. The only reason you appreciate being rich is because you were poor. If you were born rich, you don't appreciate it. The only reason you appreciate being in good health is because you were once sick. When you're sick, you'll do anything to be healthy. If you've never experienced sickness, you don't know what health is. There is no light without dark. I talk about this all the time. People say I've had a traumatic life. I say, well, then you're very, very fortunate. You had a traumatic life. Now, you may have misused that trauma. You may have misplaced it. You may have accepted the matrix telling you that you now have an excuse to fail as opposed to using it to grow. But every single man of value went through trauma and they went through pain. It's going to be painful to get strong, painful to get rich, painful to become important. It's going to be painful to become good with women. Your heart's going to get broken a bunch of times. You have to be prepared for the pain. If you're not ready for pain, you're never going to be anything that matters. So Justin just absolutely and utterly nailed it. My kickboxing coach used to say to me, I used to come in the gym, say, what do you hate the most? And I said, I hate running. He said, okay, you're going running. I say, why? He goes, because whatever you hate is what you need. Whatever you hate is what you need. I want to spar, bag work, pads, no problem. Running, I didn't want to run, but that's what you need. And that's what life's about. You're not going to be able to go through life avoiding pain and also becoming a man of quality. You're going to have to be that guy who's been through so much shit that he can wake up and go, this ain't nothing. This ain't nothing compared to back then. This ain't nothing compared to that time. You know, and if you're not going to be that guy, then you're going to always suffer the consequences of not being that guy.
Well, I know one thing, and this is a true statement that I've said several times. A lot of us don't know of a whole nother world that exists. It's on the other side of suffering. Once you break these barriers that you have made for yourself, like the mind is the most powerful thing in the world. In the world, it is so amazing that I used to be a 300-pound guy, and I thought that was it. Could barely read, could do anything, and now that what was inside that person was this guy that's in front of you today. That's how scary the mind is. And that's what I started realizing through this journey is that once I got a taste of, wow, man, I haven't even begun to crack what the mind is capable of. And I started realizing is on the other end of suffering, that's the real growth of life because you realize how the mind processes shit. And I talk about another thing called theory and practice. A lot of people are theorists. These smart guys that read these fucking books and shit, man, and they sit down, they tell you what the mind is supposed to do. And a lot of us listen to that shit. It becomes like, this is it, man. This old man who has been studying the mind forever, this is the cap that we have. By being a practitioner, I went out and realized a lot of these guys are so wrong, man. The mind has capabilities that are so unknown. I found that through suffering. And there's a whole nother world on the other end of that.
There's pain to become important and there's pain in not being important. So you have to make a choice. So I think Justin absolutely utterly nailed it. I think his answer is even better than mine could be. You need to find something you're afraid of, find something that could hurt you and go do it. And that's one of the great things about being young, right? You're basically superhuman.
Yeah.
All of us are our age. We're all in our 30s. I remember when I was 21. Bro, I
Run
could
through a wall.
Bro, I could drink all night.
Yeah.
I run 20 miles.
Fight
You
all
couldn't
day.
hurt me. Like I had Wolverine-like healing abilities. And this is actually one of the problems with the world today. I noticed the internet's this up because we have all these youngsters who have a voice. They all think they know something on Twitter and on the internet. These kids, right? When I was 23, 22, I didn't know shit. I'm 35 now. I'm one of the smartest men on the planet. And when I was 23, I didn't know shit. when you're 35, you're definitely going to still be a dumbass. So when you're 23, like you are now, you don't know anything. Your only attribute is the fact you have Wolverine-like healing abilities and you're not using it. Stop talking, start listening, get out there, get hurt, get the back up. There is a degree of wisdom that comes from physicality. I learned a whole bunch of shit about the world from just having my ass kicked. It wasn't even conversations. It was just getting beaten up. And you learn about the world I write tweets and people are like, that's so wise. Where'd you learn that? I was like, kicked in the face. That's how.
What do you believe about depression? Do you believe depression is a real thing?
I believe that feeling depressed is real. I don't believe depression as a clinical disease is real, no. I believe that the number one power you have against these things are trying to take control of your own mind and affecting your own life. I believe that it's not healthy to hand over all your power and believe that depression is an outside disease that you can't affect. I know that when I've had difficult periods in my life, and also many of my friends, like I've said, suffer from PTSD and been through terrible things. I've lived a very difficult life, and I know people who have, that the things that made them feel better is when they woke up and said, you know what? I'm not going to allow this to damage me anymore. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight this as hard as I can. If someone comes to me and says I'm clinically depressed or I feel very, very sad, I would say the first thing you need to do is stop accepting the identity of a clinically depressed person. Stop accepting you have no control over this. And my point is that a lot of people who are clinically depressed are suffering with something in their life. And if you fix the problem in their life, perhaps they won't feel depressed anymore. That's not a disease.
Yeah, but Andrew,
that's situational.
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
If that's what you believe, Piers.
That's what I believe.
I don't believe in things that take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers
who would agree with you.
Piers,
Do you think you know more than doctors?
I can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it.
Your mind has a tactical advantage over you at all times. It knows your weaknesses. It knows your strengths, and it will guide you into your nice comfort zone.
Yeah.
We have to reprogram our mind to get a different vantage point. So then you know how to be in charge of yourself.
Yep.
Versus your mind being in charge of you. I call that my 40% rule, where like a car has a governor on it. It can go 130. You know, the governor's only going to go 91.
Right.
And the whole thing about that is a true statement, you know, like what you said. Our mind wants to protect us. The mind is like, honestly, it has a tactical advantage over us. It knows our deepest, darkest fears or insecurities. It knows where we start to feel, we start getting that doubt creeping that says, hey, man, you know what, man, maybe this isn't good. Let's go back home to the wife. Let's go back home to the kids. This is not comfortable. So in that moment, the mind directs us. It's a protective mechanism. It saves us from doing bodily harm, or it really saves us from discovering that the mind's like, I want to be in charge of you. I don't want you to be in charge of me. So it tells you, let's just stop right here. But once you start breaking through that barrier and start breaking down that governor that you've put in your mind, because we forget we are in control of our mind. We believe it's the other way around. No, we put in our minds what we should do, but we believe our mind is telling us, it's giving us all this feedback. We have to reprogram it and tell us, no, we're good. We're good. This sucks, but it's okay. Everything I've ever done in my life, I didn't want to do. Everything, every day. I'm a lazy piece of shit. And I'm one of the hardest working people that ever stepped foot on this planet Earth. And I'm saying that very proudly because I know what I do. It's not cocky. I'll tell you I'm stupid. And I'll also tell you the exact opposite of what I've done. It's the truth. It is the truth. So imagine how much I've developed in that time frame. But it's the scary thing. Why most people don't want to do that, build that willpower, is because it is scary. It unlocks a whole bunch of things about who you are and who you're not. And a lot of people don't want to go down that journey to discover who they are and who they're not. Because it's not a pretty journey. I mean, I've gone down it. It's not like I went down it once. I go down it all the time. And when you unlock that, and you can't just turn it off. Like people say, hey, well, how come you haven't retired yet? I built all this willpower. Do you think it's going to let me just retire because my knees hurt? It's telling me every morning, I wake up like, man, my knees hurt, my legs hurt, my body hurts, but you can still run. So why aren't you running? if you can still run, there'll be a time when you can't lace them up anymore, but you can still run. So I still run. When the time comes I can't run, the body will say, you just can't run. But if I can still do something, that willpower that I have created, it makes me do it every day. And that's what they don't get. What builds a human being is you start with the small building blocks. And before you know it, man, you become something that it doesn't even make sense to most people because it's just who you are now. That's why I can still run at 50 at 49 with broke down knees and broke down body, because my body knows you still can. Therefore I do. Second you stop, the willpower is gone.
I made this decision to be this man, and I understood exactly what it comes with. And a lot of people at the bottom see all of the benefits. They see our cars, see the private jets, they see the girls, they see the status, and they want all of that, but they don't want the negatives. And that's why they're never going to get it.
Yep.
Because on your way up, you're going to start getting hit with the negatives. You're going to be derailed. There's no way to get to the top without dealing with monumental levels of stress. I often say the reason a lot of people don't have the things they want is they couldn't handle the things they want. They couldn't handle the life that is required to get the things they want. They simply would get anywhere near it and start to panic and pussy out and just go on holiday and hide on a beach and delete their social media.
Even comments.
Bro, mean comments. Bro. I've got street problems. You think I give a f- about mean comments from some anon? It's difficult for me to put into words how much I don't care. But there's people out there that do care.
Yeah.
And then they think, oh, I want to be like Top G, but you can't handle a comment on the internet. Bro, these people are born to lose. So you have to decide, and you need to look in the mirror and really make a decision, because I think perhaps if you want to build a life, choosing your life path and knowing which life path you want to go down is going to allow you to be the most effective in the construction of that life. If you say, I can't handle that stress, I want to be somewhere in the middle, then accept it, accept the good and bad that comes with that, accept the kind of life you want to build and go do it. But don't sit there and say, I want to be Top G, I want to live this great life, and you're not prepared for war.
What's funny is this. If you were to take somebody who says, I'm doing my best, I'm really trying, and you were to get an exact schedule of their last week and find all the times they've wasted time, you'd say, look, you've wasted time, wasted time, wasted time, wasted time. You know what's actually amazing? Most of those people are not even self-reflective enough to go, you're right, I'm not trying my best. Do you know what they'd say? Well, I have to rest sometimes. Well, I have to have a social life. Well, they'd be so arrogant. God loves people who try. God loves people who work hard. It's amazing if you try your very best all the time, what God will give you. He'll give it to you, anything you want, if you actually try. I am absolutely and utterly a believer in hard work. I'm a proponent of hard work. I have all this money and all I do is work. My entire life is work. This podcast is work. I'm getting in the car and going to another meeting, work. I'm going to go to the gym so I'm in good shape, work. It's all work. My entire life is work. And people don't want to look at life that way. They want to talk about work-life balance and being lazy and all this crap. I don't believe in any of that. I believe in, if you want to win, you have to outcompete the man who's prepared to do nothing but work. It's player versus player. If you're going to sit there and go, I don't want to work more than an hour a day, well, the guy who does want to work more than an hour a day is going to beat you. And no matter how smart you are, there's always a smart dude who's doing the same smart work you are for more hours than you're doing it. That's just the nature of the game. So if you're the kind of person who's going to quit because it's hard, then f*** off. I don't even want your energy around me.
I have so many conversations in my mind because so many times I want to quit.
Sure.
But this is what it is. This is what I figured out. I was so afraid of myself that I had to figure out I became a master of my mind. People, when you're afraid of something, you have to master it. That's how you start to overcome it. So what I realized when I get to that point where I want to quit, everybody, they get to the point where they want to quit. This is what happens. The mind tells you, let's go home. Let's take a warm shower. Let's get some food. This is not right. This is that. If you cannot answer the questions at that moment, because your mind's going to start giving you all these questions. And if you can't answer them, you're going to quit. What I realized when I was going through Budge, Ranger School, all this 100-mile race, 200-mile races, pull-up records, my mind would come creeping in. Like when I was doing 4,030 pull-ups at 2,000 pull-ups and my hands were ripped open, my mind said, look, brother, we've done all these other things. You've proven yourself. You're good. If I didn't have the answer to respond to my mind and say why I'm here, why I'm doing this, you will always lose that fight. You have to have the response to what your mind is going to tell you. And another thing about that is self-talk. A lot of people have like these big four on mental toughness. All that shit is crap. about self-talk, visualization. It's true. But the thing about self-talk and all these things, they ask me, what do you think about when you're on mile 100 of a 205-mile run? What are you thinking about when you realize you've run for 24 hours and you have 24 more hours to run and you have another 105 miles? What goes through your mind? What do you say to yourself? I want to know. A lot of people think self-talk works. It does, but it doesn't work without the suffering before your mind starts saying we need self-talk. So what I tell myself is I go back to the months and years of preparation to get to that day. And I'm telling myself the 3:30 in the morning and I'm looking at my shoes and I want to go out there and run 30 miles. I have to, in that second, in that moment of this self-talk, my mind saying, you got to find more. You got to find more. I once again calm down, go back into my mind, in my cookie jar, I call it. And I have to reflect back on the shit I did to get here. And that becomes my self-talk. Self-talk does not work unless it is real. Most of us lie to ourselves in the self-talk. It doesn't work. It has to be real. It has to be something that you've done to make it really work.
What do you say to young men who come to you for advice, who feel lost, who don't really know where they fit into society?
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you. You're only going to be cared about based on how useful you are. You have the chance to build yourself up and become a superhero if you're prepared to do the hard work and be indefatigable enough to never quit. But if you're going to stand around and wait for a handout, nobody's going to ever respect you. And I think that a lot of people have forgotten about how difficult and how competitive it is as a man. We're always in constant competition with each other. And it's your duty as a man to stand up and say, I want to be as important and strong and good-hearted and God-fearing as possible. And I need to work hard to achieve those things.
Dame Sheila Hancock says we've become too over-emotional as a society, crying too much about everything. Has she got a point?
She's completely right. And the dangerous thing about overly emotional men is that they're dangerous. They're genuinely dangerous. This is what's crazy. All these people who talk about toxic masculinity and how bad it is for men to be traditionally masculine. A traditionally masculine man does things he doesn't feel like doing because it is his duty to do them. He charges into the building because it is his duty. Not because he feels like it, because it is his duty. We're now teaching the new generation of men that they don't have duty and they can just act on their feelings and act how they feel and they don't have to act as a man should. Do you know what happens when you get men who just act how they feel? You get school shooters, you get violence, you get rapists. Men who do not control their emotions are dangerous. If you find a man who is stoic, he's not going to hurt people. He's going to sit and think about his actions very carefully, and he's going to be a good man who protects and provides for his family. You find a man who just acts out on impulse and does whatever he feels like, you're going to find a dangerous man. Sitting here telling men to cry more and act with their feelings and it's okay to feel this way, that way, etc., and have no self-control. That is why we have the problems we have in the world. Absolutely not wrong. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, they have it completely inversed on its head, completely not wrong. We need to be teaching stoicism. We need to be teaching young men to understand that the world is very, very difficult. It's hard to be a man. You're going to feel bad sometimes. You need to suck it up and perform anyway. Not to sit there and cry your eyes out or blame other people.
What do you think most people get wrong about motivation?
They think it's a permanent fix. They think it's something that is a constant. They think that maybe once I get it, I'm going to hold on to it. And that's the thing about that I was telling you, that I always talk about. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. And a lot of times you have to learn to perform without motivation. You have to learn to perform without purpose. You have to learn to perform a lot of different things. And that's what people think. They think I need to have this motivation to work out, to study, to be better. So if they don't have it, they just don't do it. And that's where you fail. You have to learn to train your mind well beyond motivation. If you have motivation, that's great. That's some kindling to the fire. All it takes is a little bit of spark. You can burn the whole forest up. But motivation, you have to learn to exist without it. You have to be your best self when you're least motivated. And that's the tricky part about all that shit. Motivation is just a word. You have to have these different things in your mind on where you want to go and know that motivation is not going to get me there. Because I'm not going to always be motivated.
Jocko said the exact same thing. He said that discipline eats motivation for breakfast.
And discipline is good too. But without a clear headspace, there's no discipline.
What do you mean?
So let's say we have a circuit breaker. Okay. And I'm loading everything up to one circuit. Just load it up. it's going to fucking blow. And once that thing blows, man, the circuit's all fucked up. You got to have each thing plugged into the right spot, like a crowded garage. You can't put anything in it. Once your brain is crowded, discipline is great. Motivation is great. But if you can't fit shit in your brain because it's all cluttered with shit, there's no discipline. You may have it sometimes when it fits in that crowded garage of your mind, but you don't have the consistency that you need to have with that discipline.
So what are you talking about here? Are you saying doing self-work and reflecting on you as an individual? Are you doing therapy?
I call it mental zones. I don't get into it much because it would be here all day. But basically is you're organizing your mind so you can put that discipline. So a lot of people talk about discipline. Okay, great. Why do you fall off the wagon? Why can't I continue with this routine? Going to the gym, being better, waking up early, eating the right foods. It's because maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your wife, maybe it's your job, and it's all just stuffed in your fucking brain. You don't have it compartmentalized and organized in these nice shelves. Like you look in the garage, it's all a nice organized militant garage. Hey, where are my dumbbells? Right there. A lot of people whose brain, hey, where's my dumbbells? Let me look. They're fucking throwing shit. They're looking through totes. They're all fucked up. So where am I going to put discipline in that mind if I can't find other shit? You got to be able to find all these different things in your mind. Oh, I can put discipline right there. I can put consistency right there. I can put all these things right there in that spot. So that's what I'm talking about. If your life is not organized, and your life being everything around you, because it takes one little a piece of an outside interference to clutter your whole mind.
Because it's on such a knife edge.
That's right. And people don't get that. Your mind has to always be clear. That's why I meditate 2 hours every single night, because I reorganize the garage, which is my mind, every night. So then discipline's in there, organization, everything is in this right spot. So when I wake up, I'm ready to go.
And jail as a whole, I mean, there's so many stories I can tell. There's so many different ways I remember it. There were times I laughed. I will sit and say some of the best days of my life were in jail.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And some of the worst days of my life were in jail. But there were days where me and Tristan, when we were finally in the same cell, there's times we laughed like we've never laughed before. I'll sit and admit that's absolutely not really true. I feel like if you're going to be the kind of person who strives for an exceptional life, which is what I am, I think I'd be a coward if I said I want an exceptional life, but I only want it to be exceptional in a good way. I don't think that's genuine. I want an exceptional life. Exceptional means away from the norm. And away from the norm means flying your Bugatti on a jet to Dubai and taking your own plane to meet it there. And it also means a Romanian dungeon with cockroaches on New Year's Eve. They're both exceptional experiences. And the times I was with my brother and it was just him and I, we truly had some genuine days where we laughed like we always laugh. Me and him laugh and have fun on a private jet, and we laughed and had fun in a Romanian prison cell because that's just who we are. And I also have to give my brother some credit while we're here. I would like to state that I absolutely, genuinely believe I have the best brother in the world. And I'll tell you why. I always knew I had the best brother in the world, but he proved it in jail, and I'll tell you why. My brother was put in jail for being my brother. He hasn't said any videos. He hasn't said anything on the internet. He hasn't said any of the things I've supposedly said. He's never, the Matrix isn't attacking him. The BBC doesn't print about him. Nothing. Why was Tristan Tate in jail? Because it's Tate brothers. So they just took him and threw him in a cell. Now, what's interesting is when I got out of jail, so many people near me got heat. Old business partners got heat with the tax. They got hit with like tax paperwork, and they were calling everyone who's ever known me, and ex-girlfriends got heat, and all these people got heat. And some people complained, some people didn't. But some people were like, oh, since you've been in jail, it's been so stressful for me. The media's outside my house. Like, stressful for you? I was in jail. What do you want me to do? And people were complaining at me. And as these people started to complain, I sat there, I said to Tristan, you got thrown in jail purely for being my brother. And never for a fraction of a second did you even moan Not even for a fraction of a second did he say, oh, they only put me here because of you. Why am I here? I'm innocent. This has nothing to do with me. Nothing. In fact, he said the absolute opposite. He said, I am so glad I went to jail with you. I would be furious if they sent you here by yourself. If they're going to lock you up, they better lock me up. And there was a time, about 2 months in, because there's less media pressure on Tristan, they were talking about releasing Tristan first. And he was saying, no, I won't leave without Andrew.
Going down with the ship.
I won't leave unless my brother leaves.
Wow.
I won't leave. And he was telling the guards, I won't leave. Keep me here. I'm not leaving. And they said, the judge says you have to leave, you have to leave. He goes, then I'll stand outside the gate. I'll sleep outside. I ain't leaving this jail. And our lawyer said, well, we can make an appeal to just release you because there's less media scrutiny around you. And Tristan's like, no, Andrew's in jail. I'm in jail. Refused to leave. He was adamant he had to stay. That's a brother for me. And it was the same for me. I said to Tristan, if they came into me and said, Andrew, go home, I'd be like, no way. Tristan's in jail, I'm in jail. We're in jail together. He never for a second complained, never bitched, never moaned. And he was only in jail for being my brother. And then I come out and there's other people, oh, they sent me a piece of paper, blah, blah, blah. You're moaning? It's unbelievable. You truly learn, like I said, jail confirms everything you already knew about the world. And you truly learn who's on your side and who isn't. And that's good to learn, but it's actually crazy. The larger psychological analysis of it all, everyone lives inside their own minds, right? So it's kind of crazy. I came out of jail and some of the first messages I got from people was them complaining about the problems me being in jail had given. Like, you think that wouldn't happen, right? You think, oh, you come out of jail, people would be like, oh, are you okay? They're like, oh, you're okay? You're out now? Okay, yeah, well, listen, Mo. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. And I'm like, I was in jail. What do you want me to do? Yeah, that sounds unfortunate. I was in a jail cell. What do you want me to do about it? It's kind of crazy how much everyone's kind of self-interested. So it's been a learning curve, and you learn a lot about a lot of different people, and your circle gets smaller. And I think that's probably one of the reasons God put me in there, to just learn a lot and make my circle smaller. And you just have to listen to him and pay attention to it and say, okay, all right, you're off, you're off, you're off, you're on, you're on, you're on. But my brother, I have to give him credit, because I tell you, I also think me and Tristan are one of the best teams in the world because we have different roles inside of our brotherhood. My role is to be concerned and to panic. Not panic, that's the wrong word. I never panic. My role is to be concerned and try and fix the problem. I'm in jail, pacing up and down. How do we get out? And Tristan's role is to not care. And together, that helps us achieve the objective best. Because when we really need to get out, I'm in charge. His role is to not care. Sometimes, when it was at the height of frustration, I needed his superpower. Tristan's superpower, and this is his superpower for life, is he is the master of not giving a fuck. We would go to court. Imagine this. You're in jail, right? Weekends were the worst because the TV was worse on weekends for some reason. Like you had like 3 channels. The weekends were the worst, and you could hear out the window everyone having fun. I hated weekends. So when a Friday would roll around, I'd say, okay, Tristan, we just have to zen away the weekend. And on Monday, there's court. We just have to zen away the weekend. So for the weekend, we just sit there staring at the wall. Intrusive thoughts, can't sleep, all those things you're trying to get out your brain, just sitting in silence because the room's tapped, just staring at the wall. And you think Monday would never come. And Monday would eventually come, right? Or Sunday night comes, and 8 a.m. on Monday, they're going to take you to court. And they might let you go home. You've done nothing. This person in this room can decide if you go home. And it's Sunday night and you can't sleep and you're awake all night long. There's no clock, but the seconds feel like hours. You're just sitting there. Eventually 8 a.m. comes. Put you in handcuffs, walk you to the court. You walk in there. Everyone speaks Romanian. Don't have a clue what's going on. Everyone's just talking at each other in Romanian. Then they say you'll get the answer in 3 hours. Go back to jail. When I went back to jail, I was sitting in the room. I was like, do I pack to go home? No, that's too optimistic. Okay. But you're nervous. You're anxious. Am I going to go home? Is it over? Do I get to go home? I called the lawyer. Do you have an answer yet? No answer yet. Okay. Sitting there. I can barely sit still. Tristan finishes court, walks straight into the room. It's a matrix attack. It's bullshit. I'm going to sleep. And went to bed. Clean asleep. I was like, how the fuck are you asleep? He didn't care at all. Gotta respect. He just went straight to bed. And then when he woke up like 6 hours later, matrix attack? I'm like, yeah, you thought so. He just rolled back over. Didn't care.
But it's perfect for a guy like you.
But that's what you need. I need that.
I agree.
Because if I had someone else next to me as hyped as me, I would have gone insane.
I agree.
I need someone like him who's just like, he had the superpowers like, bro, I love jail. Jail's great. Look, we got coffee. I love jail. None of my women are messaging me. I love jail. I'm telling you, I had 45 minutes on the phone a day, and I used all of my minutes. Tristan never made a single phone call from jail.
Get out of here.
Not one. I was like, Tristan, do you want to speak to anyone? Nah. Sit there watching Romanian news. Didn't give a shit. Like, bulletproof. But the only reason he's so bulletproof that way is because he knows I'm doing the absolute best the other way. He couldn't be that way if I wasn't trying to get us out, because then he would try to get out. You need the yin and yang. So like when it was chill time, it was his mental frame. And when it was how do we get out of here, it was my mental frame. But Tristan's superpower is genuinely not caring. I can't explain the level of how much it didn't affect him. He didn't bother him at all. I didn't see him sad, nothing. He was smiling. He didn't care.
You consider yourself a stoic. How much more stoic is he than you?
I just think we have different roles, and I think we've evolved into them over the time, because it's not just jail, it's with everything. That's what we are with everything. If there's a business problem, I'm the one who's like, shit, we have to fix this now, shit. And Tristan's the one like, Andrew, you are so ridiculously rich, chill. But we need that. We need both, right? But he couldn't be that chilled if I wasn't the way I was, because then he wouldn't be successful. Totally. So you need the opposites. Yeah. So everyone goes, oh, you and your brother are so close. We're so close because we're actually very different people. But yeah, he was amazing in jail. And even afterwards, I still struggle to sleep. He sleeps fine. Because I think my experience of jail was a far more stressful one. But I adopted that. Now, I'm not saying I couldn't have done what Tristan did. I could have done what Tristan did. If I were to go into jail and say, your MO is to not care, I could not care. But my MO was, how do I get out of this matrix attack? So I was the most stressed I've ever been in my life. So that's carried over. So I don't sleep. He sleeps fine. But he slept fine in jail. So why wouldn't you sleep fine now, right? So yeah, it was interesting, but I have to give him props, because it's amazing to have that level of clarity. And he said things which were absolutely and utterly true, things I already knew, but it was nice to hear.
I want to ask you a question on this. So I have two boys, right? And one day they're going to watch this. They're not going to watch it right now. They're 11, 9, but they're going to watch this, right? And in school, I'll go and the kids that are, 11, 12, 13, they're like, you Andrew Tate, how was that interview? Oh my God. So 11-year-old kids are watching these types of content, by the way. That's pretty wild where they're at. But here's a question about brothers. There's a lot of brothers out there. As a father, there's certain principles I'm teaching them, okay? One, if you can speak from the idea of how your bond was built based on a man, your father, Emery, injecting certain values and principles in the two of you. You guys better do this. I don't want to see this. And then which part of the code did you guys create? Because there's friendship, but there's brotherhood. There's a very different story.
Absolutely.
How was that developed?
Yeah, so my father, and I have endless stories about my father. A lot of people who dislike me would call him an extremist. I don't think he was an extremist. I truly believe I had the best father on the planet. And from a very young age, he made it clear. He said, look, you're Tates and you're going to have enemies. You're going to have people who are against you. Your best bet is to be a team. So whenever me and Tristan would fight, which happened, we got put in a room together. And we had to sit in that room, and my dad would say 3 hours or 4 hours in silence. He'd sit us down in the room, here, looking at each other, and say, if I hear a noise, I'm starting the time again. And we'd have to just, imagine when you're a kid and you fight and you're furious and you're so mad. And then you end up sitting across from the person you hate. Silent. Because if you make a noise, Dad gets mad. And Dad's outside, right? So just sit there, 2 hours, don't make a noise. We'd stare at each other. And over time, we thought, every time Dad was home, we just stopped fighting, because it wasn't worth it sitting in this isolation, weird, silent stare thing. Because that's what happened on repeat. It happened like 5 times, and we just stopped fighting. We'd fight all the time when Mom was home, and when Dad would come home, we'd literally just look at each other like truce. Like, we don't want to sit and do this thing we had to do. Yeah. So we became a team, and then I think it evolved from there, because there's always been a hierarchy. I am the older brother, I'm the bigger brother. He does respect me for that. We both have opinions, but it can be vetoed by me in the end. And we have our specific roles. My specific role is I'm the one who takes the most action. I'm the one who over worries. I believe, especially in business and many other things, I say it to all my staff. I say react fast, react early, like panic early, like panic now. I don't believe in waiting for things. It's just not who I am. I can give you a million different examples. If my email processor, this happened just before my cancellation, said, oh, we'll put your account under review. You'll have an answer in 72 hours. As soon as I get that email, within 3 minutes, I'm like, get a new one. Get a new one. I've never waited for anything in my life and it worked. I've never waited and it worked out fine. Ever. Every time it's your canceled. Every time it's your deleted. Every time, so I'm like, no, get a new one now. Just get a new one. I need today's email out. Get a new one. We can't get a new one. No one will accept us. Build one. So in a day, we built our own. Like, I'm the panic, fast and early guy. Tristan's the complete opposite. And that makes us a perfect synergy. And I super need him and I need his energy. Especially in jail, man. He was fantastic in jail. He was like, Andrew. I'm like, what? He goes, if when you were 18, they told you could be one of the richest, most famous men on earth with street cred in every single city that knows how to speak English. All you had to do was sit in jail for 2 months. Would you have taken it? I was like, yeah. He goes, and what the fuck do you care for? So true. I would have taken that. He goes, I know he used to say that, what kind of man hasn't been to jail? That's what he's saying. He used to say, what kind of man hasn't been to jail? He loved jail. He was loving it all the time. He goes, what kind of man hasn't been to jail? Of course I've been to jail. I'm just a Tate. Of course I go to jail. Like, he didn't care. And his energy was amazing to tap into. But we both understand that neither of us could be us without the other one's polar. And that's why we live together. That's why we'll always live together. I've had a lot of like women try and say, why do you still live with your brother? Why don't you want to live with me? Da-da-da. And I try and explain to them that, one, I don't think I can be my most competitive without him. Two, I'm most emotionally stable with him. I like the idea. I'm most competitive with him. I'm my best version of me. If it doesn't matter if I have to go into a fight, doesn't matter if I have to run a business, I'm better with Tristan by my side than I would be by myself. And three, my ideal family life, even my ideal family, the way I live my life now, is very much more like a clan than a nuclear family. I like me, my girl, my kids, Tristan, his girl, his kids, my cousin, his girl, his kids. I like this idea of lots of people. I like that. I like that feeling. So girls say to me, well, you don't want a family. Like, no, I want a family bigger than you want. I just don't want to just sit with you. I want a lot of people around me, and I think it's better for that. And I think it's better for the children especially also. I think they enjoy it more. But yeah, I've got the best brother on the planet. I truly do. And this is why I'm saying some of our best days of our lives are in jail.
I was going to ask you that. You guys live here in this compound. It's an amazing place. I was going to ask you, you kind of just answered it, but you foresee yourself living with your brother the rest of your life?
1,000%. 1,000%. I can't imagine not wanting to live with Tristan. If you want privacy, you have privacy, right? We have a big house. So it is what it is.
You're on one wing, he's on the other wing.
It is what it is. But I can't imagine him not being around. If there's a problem, I just shout his name, or I just can't imagine it. And I know I'm my best self. Also, there's the overall male competition, the masculine competition that exists between us and between all men. So we live currently here. We got me, my brother's personal trainers here. We got camera guys here. We got war room guys here. We got loads of guys here, but I can give you a million examples. There was a record set next door of a gym, and there's a stair machine, and there was a record set of 188 floors within a time frame. I came along and smashed it with 198. I only held the record for 45 minutes because someone beat it with 202. As soon as the record's beaten, everyone gets pissed off and puts their trainers on, puts their shoes on. As soon as it's beaten, everyone gets mad. Who beat it? Who beat it? And everyone goes and did it. And that's how you push yourself to the level you never thought you'd be able to push yourself.
202?
202 floors in 30 minutes. Good luck.
230 minutes.
No, that was beaten with. Now it's 222. It's been beaten again. I don't know if I'll ever get to that. But I'm still 198. I got to try again. But the point is, when you have men around you, there's that natural masculine competition, and that's what drives you. If you're going to be the best version of yourself, even if you're a boxer training for a fight, you train with a team. You train with other boxers. You train with other boxers or other trainers. If you're on a football team, you're pushed by your team. I think life should be the same, right? Imagine you took the normal average man and you moved him into a house of 5 people, and you had a philosopher and a fitness expert and a hypnotist, whatever it was. That will make him a more competitive person overall, because he's trying to compete with all the other people who are on his level. You don't want to take bitch position. So I don't like the idea of my life without masculine competition. That's why I'll always live with my brother.
And if you met a girl one day who says, Tate, I want to have your babies, live with you, but it's kind of weird that your brother's here, what would you say to her?
Yeah, a few of them have said that. I offer some degree of compromise. I'm like, look, we can have our own house separate if you really want, but I'm going to be spending a lot of time at that other house, including nights over. I want to stay with where my brother is.
So you would compromise a little bit, but he's going to be living next door or with you.
100%. And I don't think, and that may be unusual in the Western world. I don't think that's unusual in many places.
I love that, by the way.
Well, you talk about this all the time.
Oh, you don't even know how much I love that. Yeah, I love that. To me, as a kid, that was a dream. Like, if you could, right next to each other, there's a family in our community. billionaire family. They live right next to each other. The oldest son has the biggest house, 12,000 square feet. Then the youngest son has the second biggest house, 8,000 square feet. And the parents live in a 6,000 square foot house right next to each other.
Absolutely.
Okay. The 2 boys have 4 kids. The 8 kids are always together.
Absolutely.
What a great environment.
Absolutely.
It's a dream environment.
Absolutely.
I can't see how a person wouldn't buy into that, the benefits of it.
And there's also benefits to the relationship, because I think you have a better relationship with your woman if she can go and talk with other women and be with women and I'm with guys and then you're together sometimes and you can split it up. I think it's better for everybody. This whole idea of just man, woman, boom, child, bang, I understand where it's come from. I'm not saying it's all typically bad, but I do think that in those scenarios, there's a lot of men who are particularly miserable, particularly men, especially. And the idea of a clan and having that team around you, I love that. I wouldn't live any other way. I love living that way.
Well, being born and raised in Miami, there's a lot of Latin culture there.
Yep.
And, the American friends, they just move out, move on their own. That's what they do. But in Latin culture, the abuela's living in the house, the family's living in there, the women are all kind of congregated together. It's a different world.
We can also discuss it financially, right? If you're a man and a woman and you have 3 boys and they're, let's say, traditional, Western, whatever, they all go and pay 3 different rents and they all move in with their girlfriends and everyone's getting wrecked, right? If you all stay together and combine your income, you also do much better financially. This is how a lot of immigrants even survived, especially Muslim immigrants in England.
I've heard you tell the story about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, they all stay together in one big house. They all pool their incomes. You have a bunch of people with average jobs and Ferraris on the drive. And then they buy the house they're in. Then they buy another. You pool the incomes. If you all split and separate and just spread out, you're just paying all different rents, all different electricity bills, and you just go broke. You have to think of the last name and the generation and the clan as a whole. So yeah, I love the idea of living with my brother. I'll never live without him. And his woman can move in, of course. His kids can be around me. Of course, I'm uncle. Why not? I have no problem with that.
Connect is an application which allows you to take a minute to connect with influencers from all around the world. My name is Andrew Tate, and I'm available to speak directly to you on Connect.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.